All right. It is 5:30 on February 4th, 2025. We are in the council chambers, and I am going to call this meeting of Finance, Budget, and Personnel to order. We just have a slight agenda change. Ms. Spiros is the chairperson. It says that on there, but she is on Zoom, so I'm Natasha Tompkins, the vice chair, and I will chair the meeting. I'd like to identify any potential conflicts of interest. Do not see any conflict. Do we have any citizen comment? Two more times, any citizen comment? No citizen. We do have the consent agenda, which has the minutes, the January 21st meeting. We have bills and payroll, monthly position control report, and report of personnel actions. We are looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
Move to approve by Mr. Marshall, second by Mr. Rigel. Any comments or questions, discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, that's item number 5, consideration. Oh, we didn't remove any. Number 6, we have a presentation. Request to extend partnership agreement for the operation of the Marshfield Job Center through December 31st, 2025. Introduced by Steve Barg, City Administrator, presented by Jane Spencer, Executive Director of North Central Wisconsin Workforce Development Board.
Thank you, Vice Chairperson Tompkins. Yes, tonight we have with us Jane Spencer, the Executive Director from North Central Wisconsin Workforce Development Board, and John Kokel as well. Just as she comes to the podium, just a reminder of how we got here. 2 weeks ago when this body met, you did recommend approval of an agreement through the end of March of 2025, extending that agreement with North Central Wisconsin Workforce Development Board and the Department of Workforce Development. The council did give its approval at the next meeting, so that's been blessed and signed into place. However, the committee, when they met 2 weeks ago, was not favorable at that time to extending the agreement through the end of 2025. I tried to answer some of your questions, but I think I was kind of ill-suited to do that since it's not my world. And so we thought it'd be good to have Jane come here and maybe give a little presentation and answer your questions about Job Center. Jane?
Sure. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate this opportunity and the partnership that we've had in place. And I also just wanted to clarify that the North Central Wisconsin Workforce Development Board is a different entity than State Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development. We're partners.
It's a three, I didn't say that very well, but it's a three-party partnership.
Yep. Yep. Yes. So I have provided some information on the foot traffic, and you had that at your last meeting. But I wanted to come and just talk a little bit more about the resource room services. And we operate, and we're here based on the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, we call it WIOA, where job centers play an important key role in connecting businesses to job seekers. And there are 4 main titles under the legislation. I don't want to get into too many details, but there are 4 titles, and there's Title I, which we are responsible for, and they are actually employment and training programs where people come in, they have to apply, we have to do eligibility before we can provide services. Under Title II, that is your adult education. The technical college is responsible for that. Title III is the Department of Workforce Development at the state. And there are several programs there. And part of that is what's called Wagner-Pizer, which is the public labor exchange. And that is how we get our job centers. There's other programs that they provide as well. And then Title IV is the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. So this is a partnership. It's not operated under one entity. It's all over. There are 11 workforce boards like ourselves across the state. And part of the WIOA legislation is that we have this access. And so in our area, we serve 9 counties. And at one time, before my tenure here, every county had its own job center. And you know, with budgets and dwindling resources, we've had to downsize, and we really strategically looked at our 9 counties, where are the best places for job centers? And we kind of came to the Marshfield area and decided to keep this one in place. But the services in the resource room are part of what's called the public labor exchange. There is no eligibility. I, as a fully employed professional, could go into a job center. I might want to do job search on the state machines. I may want to upgrade my resume. I may want to upload it so that businesses can see me on that labor exchange. We are not collecting personal identifying information. It's open to the public. There is no eligibility. And that is why, and I've had conversations with the state, we do not collect any personal identification until they've gone through eligibility and they get into a program. And so then that's where we provide case management, where we do track those services that you have asked about. So talking about the public labor exchange, it does include accessing the state resources. And some of those resources are online, but as you know, some individuals may not have a computer at home. They may go to the library. They could be doing job search at the library on those computers. They're not tracking that at the library, you know, as we're not tracking that. They may be tracking foot traffic, how many people are using computers, but they're not tracking the job search. An individual can go to a neighbor's house. But again, even if they have a computer at home, they may need assistance. Not everybody has computer skills. And some of the systems at the state are not exactly user-friendly. They have to get in and create an account. And that is where our job center here in Marshfield helps those individuals get to those sites. Excuse me. In addition, there are individuals who may be on unemployment insurance and they have to do a weekly claim. They have to do assignments in order to keep that unemployment insurance coming in. Again, we're not tracking that. We're helping them get to the website to do that. The other service that is provided at the job center is for businesses. So the businesses in Marshfield can call or get online, or they can come in, and a lot of times we've done little job fairs. It's important for us that the businesses here have the workers that they need. We also have a business service team who is, again, made up of the partners. We may get a lead. There's a business coming in. There's a business that wants to hire. We'll go out and make contact with that business and learn more about their hiring needs and how can, if it's a person who is in a case to manage program, can we refer them? Or can we just make sure that job seekers come in? And again, it's part of the public labor exchange where we're making that connection. So like I said, people can, you know, if they have a computer at home, maybe they just need to call, they need a little assistance, or they need to come in and do that. Right now, that position at the Marshfield Job Center is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 to 3. We used to do it 9 to 3:30, but we had a lot of customers coming in during the lunch break. So we decided to change it to 9 to 3, and that resource room assistant just works through that period. So anyway, last March, I think it was, Steve and Justin contacted John and I to have a conversation about only extending the lease for 1 year because they have another entity that wants to use that space. So we've started to look at other places in Marshfield because we feel like it's a quality service. We want to continue that for your residents, but also for your businesses. And our ask is that to still have that partnership to provide that quality service for job seekers and businesses. I'm open to some questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Reichel?
Yeah, just a couple of things, just trying to collect my thoughts. So just confirm the job center here in Marshall is open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 to 3.
Yes.
Um, and the number you gave us was that we had 405, excuse me, visits, if you will.
Yes.
Right, and that could have been the same person, could have been multiple, could all be individual. We're not
Right.
sure at this point.
We're not allowed actually by the Title III to collect that information, so we only do the foot traffic.
Right, and then you said that a number of those, and I'm going to butcher how you described it, so I apologize, but become tracked cases, like become ones that you do.
If they need more individualized services other than the basic services in the resource room, they can apply for an employment and training program. So for example, we have a dislocated worker program. Sometimes if somebody comes in and we find out that they've been dislocated from their job by no means of their own, we will refer them to a program. Then they have to go through the application process.
Okay, but we would be able to have numbers on those, though, right?
I could ask the assistant for how many referrals were made. Sometimes if they're coming in to apply for UI, they may get flagged that way, but that's the unemployment insurance system, and we do not have access to that.
Right. Well, I just guess what I'm kind of getting at here is that the concern here is not so much the value of what's being provided, at least from where I'm sitting, but rather in our current financial position, is it something that we can afford to do?
I understand that, yeah.
Right. I'm not trying to chastise or anything like that. Just saying we're in an unenvious position here of having to make decisions. And the last 2 years here alone, the massive cuts that we've had to make to everything we offer is far from fun. And so this is why we end up in a position like this, where we're questioning something that does have value, does have merit, but then the ultimate question is dollars and cents.
Mm-hmm.
And is that something we want to do? If you just do the math and let's assume for argument's sake that all 405 are individuals, that's $37 per visit. I mean, that's a pretty tall order to do. Now, once again, valuable resources, but is it something that the city of Marshall can continue to fund?
Mm-hmm.
Historically, have we seen numbers dropping? Because, go on.
So the previous 2 years, the numbers were in the upper 300s. This last year, it was 405. So we just had a slight increase.
So I guess what I'm getting at here is, well, we've had this partnership since 2016, correct?
Excuse me?
We've had this partnership since 2016?
Correct.
Right. And so with the fact that, it seems like a lot of it is computer related, and some people do need assistance, they're just not tech savvy, but there are some that are tech savvy. I mean, have we seen numbers dropping just with use of cell phone?
It really depends on what service that they're trying to access. So job search through the state's Job Center of Wisconsin.com can be done on a phone, but the unemployment insurance part, especially if they're assigned assignments. So assignments can be, they have to do 4 job searches or put in 4 resumes a week, whatever that is. But also there's another program that they can get pulled into called RESCA. It's a reemployment service where they may need to meet virtually with somebody at the state across the area. And maybe they're reviewing a resume or they have other assignments to do. Again, like, I'm not involved in the unemployment insurance program, but there's a variety of reasons why they would come in.
Right, but I guess what I'm getting at here is if you compare the numbers from 2016, which was, 9 years ago or 8, to what it was last year, is it, where we have 1,000 visits in 2016 and then now we're down to...
Oh, yeah, I'd have to go back and look for that. I can send that to Steve. We've tracked that over the years. I just don't have that with me. I would say that there have been ups and downs. It all depends on the economy. We went through a period where we had a lot of dislocations, and now we haven't. So the activity with the unemployment insurance may be down, but we also have the other service that I mentioned is our business services, where if we get that lead from the job center that an employer has called, we want to go out and provide a service to them and find out what their needs are. And then also make sure that we're posting that not only online, but in the job center for that traffic coming in.
Okay, and then switching gears slightly to the number of businesses that are using it. I think you said there are 22 companies that use it.
Yes, in 2024.
And without asking for specific numbers, what is that trend looking like? Were there more in 2016? And in ballpark, if you...
I would say probably less of the businesses because there's more online. And then once we get that lead, we like to go out to them to let them know of the services. So it would be like less businesses coming in, but there's still like we're doing job fairs. I know that Gary has held smaller job fairs, or an employer will come in and hang out, wanting to catch some of those individuals after we've done some marketing for that.
Okay, so that 22 number, then that's how many physically went to the office as opposed to...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Where's the next closest one besides Marshfield?
We have one in Wausau, Wisconsin Rapids, Adams, and Rhinelander.
Okay.
I think I got all 5 of them.
And then you had said that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but you had said that you're looking at moving out of this current location because you're aware of some other company or business looking at taking that spot?
Let me jump in. I mean, we had a conversation based upon the, the amount of traffic and the need that they might have, is whether or not they had any other way that it might work for them. Because we do periodically get nonprofits, for example, asking if they can get available space in the community center. So we weren't trying to push them out. We were just trying to see if there was an opportunity they might want to pursue and that would free up space. So it didn't start with Jane. The conversation didn't.
So we kind of pushed them out?
No, I just said we didn't push them out.
I'm just making sure.
No, I wouldn't say that Steve pushes out. He just contacted us about doing a 1-year extension.
Well,
and then we agreed to that. And I said I would go back to the partners that I just talked about, because we want to stay here. We feel like this is a community that, needs the service. We're looking at that. We think we have a lead. We have a meeting Thursday morning with another community partner to try to work something out. My concern is more about the service to individuals who need that assistance.
Okay, I'm almost done here then. So I'm assuming this is one position and one part-time job, correct?
One position, yeah.
Right, okay. How do you go about filling that position?
So Steve takes care of that with ABR, leasing agency.
Yeah, it's a staffing company, and I think we work, they have offices all over, but they have one in Point, and I get an invoice every week. And what happens is North Central makes a deposit to cover their annual total, and I run all the invoices through them for a period of maybe 4 months. But basically, we pay about 3/4, and they pay the other quarter of that position plus the associated overhead.
Okay, so we're doing that function here internally as far as cutting the check to ABR?
Correct.
Okay.
Except during the period of time when they're using their deposit that's made with ABR, in which case I just send the invoice there. It's kind of weird because it comes from them, but I send it to another office where they then draw from that deposit to cover, again, what turns out to be almost 4-month period.
Okay. And is there a reason? Oh, sorry.
Can I add one thing with this partnership? The Department of Workforce Development then comes in to help train that individual. And the reason is because of resource room, and it's the public labor exchange. But also, as individuals are coming in for unemployment insurance, we have to be very careful that we are not guiding them. We are getting them to the site, telling them what, you need to put in your name, but we cannot tell them what to put in because it's a liability issue. So there's the training of that individual as well.
Right, okay. And then 2 more questions here then. Finally, why are we using ABR as opposed to hiring directly?
Well, I don't know how that ever started. I inherited that a long time ago that we had a temporary staff person that had been found for us by ABR. I imagine it's possible that we could find some other arrangement, but it's been there for that relationship for a long time.
And I believe that it stemmed, it was before I was here, but I believe that it stemmed from having to cover the wage and the fringe.
Okay, so what's the level
Yeah.
of turnover then in that position?
So we had one individual who was here,
A long time. Kay,
Yeah,
Kay was
like
here
30
for a
years.
long time.
yeah, and then the current individual has been here for 3.
I was going to say
this is
4. Okay.
Third year.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's not high turnover then at all?
No.
No, it isn't. And yeah, the person she mentioned was here for, like I said, she said 20-some years, maybe 30 years
Yeah.
Initially.
And back when I mentioned that each county had its own job center, I believe she may have been a state employee at that time. But then as downsizing had occurred, it became a different arrangement.
And if somebody doesn't work out, and we've had a couple that didn't work out between Kay and Gary, then they quickly find us somebody else. I mean, we're not responsible for it. That's one benefit. I get what you're saying about the overhead or what you're thinking about the overhead, but clearly, yeah, we've just left it in their hands for good or for bad, and they've always found somebody to fill the space.
Okay, I'm finished, thank you.
Right. Oh, Mr. Duran.
The other communities that you operate in, what's the revenue, the cost share? Is it similar?
So it's all very different. So down in Adams, and I just want to just say that we like to say that our smaller job centers like Marshfield and Adams, they're held together with duct tape. It's that partnership. It's the will of the community to keep that together. So in Adams, it's the county who puts in money. Mid-State provides the space, and then we provide part of that resource room assistant as well as the training. And then in Wausau, that is our comprehensive job center. So according to the legislation, we have to have one comprehensive job center. And in that one, it's a bigger space. There's more partners in there. But I also just wanted to mention in any of the 5 job centers that we have the oversight of, we cannot collect that information that you're asking for in any of those resource rooms. It's when they enter a program. So this is not unusual to have this ask, but it's something that we just cannot collect. And then in Rhinelander, that is a smaller job center. There is state staff in that one. We have a veterans officer. We have a veterans officer that who can travel around as well. So if a veteran makes an appointment here, they'll come here and we can meet with them in Marshfield. So they don't have to travel to Wisconsin Rapids or Wausau. And then Wisconsin Rapids, that is a little bit smaller job center, but there are state staff in that one as well.
Any other questions?
So for the Wisconsin Rapids one with the state staff, who pays for the staff then? The state?
Yes.
They take care of everything?
Yeah.
And
Well, not everything, but the resource room, because that's their part of the
Where's
title.
the location there?
The location there is a partnership. So DWD has a lease, we have a lease, and then another partner, Forward Service Corporation, has a lease, all in the same building.
Mr. Varsho, do you have another question? Oh,
Thank
okay.
you.
I got one follow-up.
Oh, okay, Mr. Rigel.
The Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 to 3, I know you said that's Marshfield. Is that the standard for all the other ones too? Or like, for example, if like Rapids has a bigger facility, are they open like 5 days a week or even more?
So they have a little bit different. They're open 5 days a week, but it's 8 to 4. Typically, job centers were open till 4:30, but now, since COVID, they close at 4 so they can do daily cleaning. So staff are there till 4:30, but to the customers, it closes at 4.
Okay, no, I'm done. Thank you.
All right, I have a few questions. Thank you for coming in so that we can ask you all these questions. I am wondering, you said that this was a state mandate or statute. Is that correct, that there needs to be
So
job
the
centers?
Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act is federal
Oh, it's
legislation.
federal.
And then from the Department of Labor, it goes to the Department of Workforce Development and then out to the 11 boards. It's how the funding flows.
Sure. And so that legislation, does that say anything about who funds it? Who's required to fund it?
Yes, there are mandatory job center partners under the titles.
And who would those be?
So Title I is the Workforce Development Board.
Oh,
We're
okay, so-
responsible. We have a youth program, an adult program, and a dislocated worker program, and then we're charged with the oversight. So we don't operate them. We're not supervisors of the job center. We just have the oversight. It's an odd relationship.
So within the state of Wisconsin, you have a mandate to have job centers
Yes,
and to have oversight.
yes.
But do you have any sort of standard funding? Like, does the funding for all of this come from this?
Part
Or
of
the
it
federal?
comes down through the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act.
So do you guys get enough money to run your job centers through that?
No, that's why we seek the partnerships and why we've had to downsize from having a job center in every county to now looking at our region and strategically having them placed. So we cover Adams, Wood, Portage, Marathon, Lincoln, Langley, Oneida, Violet, and
What would
Forest.
happen if you didn't receive enough money and you didn't fulfill the legislation? Would the state have to step in and fund you, or would the federal government step in? Who would say you have to be here and here's your fund?
So we would have to make a case to the Department of Workforce Development at the state level to say we don't have the funding to run this job center. That's always a concern for a community. But it has happened before where we've had to close a job center.
I'm wondering, how much money does the person make per hour since you guys go through a temp agency?
The current rate is $16.50.
And how much do you pay the temp agency as well?
I think it's, if I quick do the math on that, I think it comes to about 21.
So you pay the temp agency 21, and then they take some of the money and give the employees.
I think so. I'll do the math here for you real quick. I should have known that offhand.
I believe it's just under 22,000, combined. So there's,
You're talking about for the year?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just doing the hourly at this point, yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, it's actually closer to 23.
$23 an hour, and you're using a temp agency because then it's not someone that you have to give benefits to? Is that what you were saying?
Like I said, I inherited this, and I'm sure that's where the benefits in large part come from, whatever benefits they get. And then, of course, the overhead that the agency makes by the fact that they provided someone. I mean, they have to make money. So I guess I've never looked at the breakdown of if the person gets $16.50 and the agency gets 23. I don't know what level of benefits they get, but the rest of it's going to be their fee.
So this person wouldn't be a state employee. If you didn't go through a temp agency, would this person become who would employ the person? It's not a city employee.
No, he's not a city employee. He's the employer of record is the leasing company, the ABR. If we did not do that, we're going to have to figure that out with the partners if the city isn't going, if you choose not to do that. We'll have to work with our partners to see.
Okay. And then lastly, have you asked Wood County for any money to help with this?
Not the county, no.
All right, thank you.
Do they contribute anything toward the Rapids facility?
No.
All right. So this agenda item is discretion of the committee. So I'm wondering if anyone has any action that they would like to take on this or not. All right. So we won't be taking any action on this tonight. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for answering all those questions.
Thank you.
All right, so we are moving on to item number 7. And this is a request to recommend council approval of budget resolution number 04-2025, increasing the budget for wastewater capital expenditures for rehabilitation of the Northeast Pump Station, presented by Jennifer Solinsky, Finance Director.
Good evening. As we've been talking about in recent meetings, the city's wastewater facilities plan was completed in 2023, and we've been working our way through the progress on certain projects. And tonight, we're proposing a budget resolution for the Northeast Pump Station, which was a part of the plan. And I believe last night, the Board of Public Works accepted a bid for the construction of the project. And so tonight we need a budget resolution because the budget, this is a long-term project, and the total budget for years 2023 to 2025 are $2.8 million. And then the contracted services from planning to construction management total $2,583,500. So we've had enough budget. We just don't have the budget aligned with when the spending will occur. And our system doesn't automatically do that for us. So we need to bring in, we underspent in 2024. So there's budget available combined with what we put in the 25 budget in total. So what we need to do is just increase the budget in 2025 to reflect what we will be spending for this project. So with that, I would recommend approval of budget resolution 05-2025 to increase the wastewater utility fund budget by $432,000 for the Northeast Pumping Station Rehabilitation Project. It should be noted that the funding source for this project is wastewater fee.
All right, so do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Varsho to approve, a second by Mr. Rigel. Do we have any questions or comments? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I do not see any. Do I have any nays? I think I heard all ayes. All right, that motion passes. Thank you. Question, item number 8. Nope, that was, yes, item number 8. Request to recommend council approval for budget resolution number 05-2025, increasing the Fund 205 Economic Development budget for consulting services related to the West 2nd Street redevelopment plan, presented by Steve Barg, City Administrator.
Thank you very much. Well, a couple things play into this one, as you probably saw in the memo. First of all, in doing some recalculation of expected expenses for the West 2nd Street corridor plan phase 2 that we're doing with Vanderwall, it was determined that we have about a $17,000 shortfall to cover what may well be the expenses that we incur with that firm during 2025. At the same time, part of the plan involves, trying to redevelop the Vanderwall property and ideally moving the police station out of downtown. Those are both on that 2nd Street corridor in the district. In order to do both of those, we would like to have appraisals to know the true value of both facilities as we look at, selling one or both of them. And I've obtained estimates for those totaling $11,000 for the two total, $7,500 for the Weinbrenner building and $3,500 for an appraisal of the police station. So those total $11,000 plus the $17,000 shortfall. So what we're looking to do is get your approval to recommend to council their approval of a budget resolution 05-2025 that would increase the budget from the 205 fund. The money's already there, but increase the 2025 budget using that fund by $28,000 to cover the aforementioned expenses.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or comment? All right, seeing none, we are going to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay? All right, that motion passes. Item number 9, request by Councilmember Tompkins to discuss an arrangements for securing services related to economic development from the Marshfield Area Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mackey, presented by Steve Barg, City Administrator.
Thank you. Well, what I'll do is, given the fact that the request was made by a member of this body, what I'll do is give some background and a few thoughts, and then turn it back to the requesting person, Councilmember Tompkins, for her comments. But again, just a brief highlight of how we got here without getting too deep. We had a shared position with Mackey for a long time where we paid a portion of the wages and benefits. That ran through the end of 2024. As part of the budget process, we of course learned that Karen Olson would not be with us in 2025. She was retiring. But the council, after a lot of discussion, did agree to put $47,000 in the budget, but basically putting it in contingency, targeting $47,000 from that to cover what may be all year or a portion of that year. So be it, at least there'd be money to draw from to pay toward our part of that salary and benefits. Subsequently, concern was raised by Mackey board and brought to us by Executive Director Denise Sonneman that because of the fact that the money was not in a line item that could be immediately spent from, council would have to ultimately pass a budget resolution to move the money from contingency to the proper account in order to expend the funds when they had somebody hired, looking for more certainty that the city was going to be behind this before they went out and recruited. The council did discuss that. Ultimately, that budget resolution did not pass. The vote was 6-3 in favor at the council level, but it requires 7 affirmative votes, so that budget resolution actually failed. So that's kind of where we are prior to the request to bring it back tonight. The question we have at hand is, where do we stand with Mackey? At the moment, the city does not have a relationship with Mackey for 2025. We are in a position where we also don't have a lot of development services staff. We don't have a director or a senior planner. And the position that Marshfield Utilities was talking about, it appears that they've set it on hold, at least for the moment. They were looking at their own economic development staff individual. So I think the question is, has this been settled? At one level, there are members of the council, I think several people from the full council, and maybe some from this body, that said that they were still, interested or willing to transfer monies to the proper account once Mackey had somebody on board. So when you've got somebody on staff you've hired, let us know when we can do the budget resolution to move the monies to begin paying prorated share of that $47,000 toward those wages and benefits. Others may not feel that way. I know there's questions about the ROI that we get from Mackey and the value of that position to the city. Another thing that was been kind of floated in the past was whether or not we look at contracting with Mackey for services. I think I put in your packet again the things that they highlight that this person does. And I think I brought up in a previous meeting of this group that some might be more important than others to me. Certainly, I think the biggest thing that we're lacking that Mackey, that position provided to us was business retention services and entrepreneurial startup type of help to people looking to begin a business or help grow their business who come to approach the Chamber of Commerce maybe rather than the city initially. The other things that they do that are on that list are valuable. But again, I think the key ones, the most important ones are the one I cited. So if you're going to try and do a contract for services, you might look at staging it based upon the value of the services you wish to include in said contract. On the other hand, maybe we're at the point where the body doesn't see fit to pursue anything for at least the balance of 2025 with Mackey, and to look at it maybe at another date, another time. So I'm presenting it back to you as the request from Councilmember Tompkins to see what the body's desire is. That's where I see it. I do see it as deficient right now at the moment in services and economic development. And I think that, right now we've got 10 hours of time from Josh Miller. That's a good thing, but it doesn't really cover as much as we could use at staff level. But you've looked at the options. You've heard this for maybe 4 months now, going back to September, when the request for 2025 budget process or 2025 budget funds was presented to you. So this is hardly a new topic. My goal for this conversation is that we come out of it with some direction, whether the direction is on one side or the other. Maybe get this off the list of our topics for the future, at least for the balance of 2025, what direction we are or simply are not going.
All right, thank you, Steve. Do you want me to, you mentioned that I can talk a little or I can let everyone talk and then I can talk at the end?
But it's up to you. I brought this back as a report as you requested, and It's your agenda item. I mean, do you mean you have to hand the gavel over to talk? Is that what you're asking?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't really have anything to say except maybe,
Okay,
yeah, anyhow, why
That's
don't
fine.
we have Mr. Korean?
okay,
There
that's
we
fine.
go.
That's fine.
So I would make a motion to table this at this time. I spoke to the executive director of Mackey. They're in the process. They're discussing hiring. They have, I think, 6 what they are qualified and good applications. I think until they bring, someone to the council to say we're hiring, I don't know if we're actually going to make a decision or a budget resolution that would actually move the money. It is in the budget, correct?
Yeah, the monies have been moved to contingency fund based on the fact that we had shown interest in doing this when the time came.
I think they're looking for reassurance that the
Mhm.
money's going to be there, but it passed the budget, and I think we've given them our word to do it, and I think we would do that. So I will make a motion to table it at this time.
I second.
All right, so we have a motion to table by Mr. Koran and a second by Mr. Varsho. Do we have any comments or questions?
We actually can't discuss if there's a motion to table that is
Oh.
not debatable, we just vote.
Really? Isn't this when we always ask our questions?
If there's a motion to table, a motion to
Oh,
table
a
is
motion
not
to
a.
table,
Correct.
right,
That is
okay.
not a debatable motion.
Got it, not a debate. Okay, so we have a motion to table and it is on the floor and we are going to vote. So all in favor, please say aye.
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 And all opposed, say nay. Okay, do we have any abstainers?
Yep.
Okay, we have one abstain. Okay. So,
So
yes.
I'm going to take this motion to mean that I will not bring this back until Mackey does something in terms of that position. Is that that's the consensus I'm seeing? At that point, I can bring it back for further consideration. Until then, nothing.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much. And that motion passed. Okay, so we are on to item 10, suggested items for future agendas. Oh, Mr. Park.
Well, I just want to give an update on the ones you brought up at the last meeting. This was one about Mackey. The other two, I've talked with the Parks and Recreation Director, Justin Casperson. We're gathering information. We'll come back to you probably in March with ideas about lease rates for the community center. And then the other one was, I made a note about a minute ago. The stormwater utility. And we're going to go, if it's okay, straight to the council with that presentation to get that ball rolling to see if there's any interest in pursuing that. And you can expect to see that at the next meeting on the 11th of February. So that's my report on what you brought forward.
Wonderful. Any other suggested items? All right, seeing none, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I'm not sure who did it. Was it Mr. Korean? He had a motion and Mr. Reigel second. Okay, we are adjourned.
Thank you.